Okay, now let's go to the topic of VAT on importation. So sorry, it should be VAT on importation. Okay, so Section 107 of the National Internal Revenue Code discuss about or provided value-added tax on importation of goods as amended. So paragraph A, in general, there shall be levied, assessed, and collected in every importation of goods a value-added tax equivalent to 12%. So same 12%, based on the total value used by the Bureau of Customs in determining the tariff and customs duty, plus custom duties, excise taxes, if any, and other charges such as tax to be paid by the importer prior to the release of such goods from the customs custody, provided that there where the customs duty are determined in the basis of the quantity or volume of goods, the value added tax shall be based on the landed cost plus excise taxes if any. So your tax base for you to apply the 12% must be based on the landed cost plus excise taxes. Okay, landed cost plus excise taxes times 12%. That is your VAT on importation. Paragraph B provides transfer of goods by tax-exempt person. In the case of tax-free importation of goods into the Philippines by person, entities, or agencies exempt from tax where such goods are subsequently sold, transferred, or exchanged in the Philippines to a non-exempt person or entities, the purchaser, transferees, or recipient shall be considered the importer thereof, who shall be liable now for any internal revenue taxes on such importation. The tax due on such importation shall constitute a lien on the goods superior to all charges or liens of the goods irrespective of the possessor thereof. So, pasabot ani is, for example, si A, export ni siya, no? Ani import siya. But si A is a non-VAT or tax-exempt person. So of course, kay tax-exempt person man siya, then ang yung importation is not, ano, um, not, not subject to VAT. Of course, for example, cooperative siya, agriculture cooperative siya, import siya. So, kato yung gi-import, since ang agriculture cooperative is a VAT-exempt person, then yung gi-import is not subject to VAT. Okay? However, the subsequent sold or sale of that particular goods to a non-exempt person, okay? So si A exempt, ibaligyan niya B. Si B ang not exempt. So now, si B na ang mo liable sa internal revenue tax on such importation. So mapast on niya ni purchaser nga non-exempt or non-VAT exempt. Okay? So manay pasabot sa section sa paragraph B of section 107. So before we go through, let's define first what is importation. So importation refers to um, the goods, including services, by Philippine residents, okay? Philippine resident from non-resident sellers, okay? Importation is a form of domestic consumption, hence not subject to, importation is a form of domestic consumption, hence importation is subject to VAT, okay? So, kana siya. Okay, again, as the underlying principle or doctrine is the destination principle or cross-border principle. Okay, asa man i-consume here naman sa Philippines, so that is subject to VAT. Okay, there are two types of consumption on tax on importation. The consumption tax on the import or of goods, which is called VAT on importation, which we will discuss, and the consumption tax on the purchases of services from non-resident, which is called withholding VAT. Okay, the VAT on importation is payable to the Bureau of Customs whenever there is an importation of goods. Okay, so take note of that. The VAT is paid prior to the withdrawal of the goods from the customs warehouse. So before na ma-release ang imong mga kuan diha container sa imong imports, mubayad sa ka sa VAT on importation asa bayaran sa Bureau of Customs. Okay? The VAT is paid prior to the withdrawal of the goods from the customs warehouse. So di na i-release, di ka kabayad sa VAT on importation. Okay? The withholding VAT is 12% of the payment for services rendered by non-residents. Okay? In both cases, as mentioned, the resident purchaser is the one statutory liable for the payment of VAT. Okay? Now, let's go to VAT rate. So, VAT rate on importation of goods. So, as mentioned, ganina sa section 107, that is 12% VAT. What's the basis? The total value used by the Bureau of Customs in determining the tariff and customs duties, plus customs duty excess taxes, if any, and other charges, such as postage or commission, where the customs duties are determined on the basis of the quantity or volume of the goods. VAT shall be based on the landed cost plus excise taxes, FA. Okay, who pays? It is the importer of the goods. Importer prior to the release of such goods from customs custody. Who is the importer? So any person who brings goods into the Philippines, whether or not made in the course of his trade or business, including non-exempt person or entities who acquire tax-free imported goods from exempt persons, entities, or agencies. Okay. Now, what is a custom duty? So custom duty, guys, it is the amount of customs duty legally due and paid by the importer. So, which includes other similar charges such as special import tax, bank charges, arrastre charges, wharfage, brokerage fees, and all other expenses related to that importation. So, di ba, atong ta mag-base sa landed cost. What is the landed cost? Landed cost is the invoice amount including cost of loading, shipping, and unloading, customs duty. So sa landed cost, appeal na diri ang customs duty. Okay? Freight insurance and other charges or excise tax if any. Expenses incurred after the release of the goods, such as those incurred in delivering the goods, do not form part of the landed cost. Okay, take note. Do not form part of the landed cost. Exempt importation. So before we compute, tao sa di mo kung base ng importation exempt. Okay? So take note ka. Kung exempt ang importation, hindi mo siya appeal. Hindi na siya computean. Okay? What are those export that is exempted? Sale, importation of agricultural and marine food products in their original state. Livestock and poultry of a kind generally used as or yielding or producing foods for human consumption and breeding stocks and genetic materials. So mo import kag mga marine foods, mga isda at their original state, okay? So importation kato sa baboy, di ba? Mo import nam sa TV, importation of pork. So at their original state, mo to gihiwa ra man to slice. So those are not subject to VAT on importation. So products classified under this paragraph shall be considered in their original state even if they have undergone the simple process of preparing, preservation for the market, like freezing, drying, salting, broiling, roasting, smoking, or stripping. Polished and hashed rice, corn grits, raw cane sugar, molasses, ordinary salt, and copra shall be considered in their original state. Another exempted importation, sale or importation of fertilizers, seeds, seedlings, fingerlings, fish, prawn, livestock, and poultry feeds. Mga feeds, okay, or fertilizers are exempt from VAT on importation. Okay, the next is letter C, importation of personal and household effects belonging to the resident of the Philippines returning from abroad. Mga personal things ni mo ba? Nilado ni mo diri. So those are exempt from VAT on importation, provided that such goods are exempt from customs duty under the tariff and customs code of the Philippines. Okay, that's the one of the requirement sa mga personal and household effects. Importation of professional instrument, implements, tools, or trade occupation or employment, wearing apparel, domestic animals, and personal and household effects belonging to person coming from to settle in the Philippines or Filipinos or their families and descendants who are now resident or citizens of other countries such as parties hereinafter referred to as OF, overseas Filipinos or OFWs, in quantities and the class suitable to the profession can rank or possession of the persons importing said items. Take note, this is the important line, for their own use. So, professional instrument, mga apparel ni mo diha, domestic animals, as long as for your personal own use and not for barter or exchange, those are exempt from VAT on importation. Importation or printing o publication of books, kung import kag books, newspaper or magazine, bulletins, okay? So, those are not subject to VAT on importation. Exempted na siya. Letter F, importation or lease of passenger or cargo vessel. So, gi-import nimo or nagpaabang ka og cargo vessel, aircraft, including its engine, equipment, and spare parts. Okay, for domestic or international transport operation, those are exempt from VAT importation. Importation of fuels, goods, and supplies by person engaged in the international shipping or air transport operation. So those are also VAT exempt on importation. So take note lang na provided that the fuel, goods, and supplies shall be used for international shipping or air transport operation. Okay. So those are the exempt VAT importation. So those are also VAT exempt transactions. Okay. So if you import those, then wala sa kaysa, di sa kamubayad sa VAT on importation. What if there's a transfer of goods by a tax exempt person? Okay. What will happen? If the importer is tax exempt, the subsequent purchaser, okay, transferee, or recipients who are not exempt persons shall be considered as importers and who shall be liable for VAT due on such importation. Mo ni ang katong sa paragraph B. So if si A is a tax exempt person, then ang iyang gi-import, why pwede siya mobayad sa VAT. Pero ang iyang gibiligyaan ana nga dili VAT exempt or non-exempt is the one who will pay the VAT due on such importation. Okay. Kung si B na, ang nipalit ni si B is not VAT exempt, ni si B ang mo bayad sa VAT on such importation. The tax due on such importation shall constitute a lien on the goods superior to all charges or liens of the goods irrespective of the possessor thereof. So let's have an exercise for a better understanding. So ABS trading imported goods from abroad for domestic sale with the below information. So peso value of supplier's invoice is 2 million. Other costs incurred to bring goods to the Philippine port is 70,000. Other charges before the withdrawal of goods, including 5,000 facilitation fee paid to a fixer, that's 85,000. Customs duty is 10%. So let's compute the customs duty. So customs duty, it includes your peso value of your um, say mo importation. How much is the importation cost? So that's 2 million. So i-add ni mong other costs incurred to bring the goods to the Philippine port, which is 70,000. So you have your dutiable value, which is the value that is subject to customs duties is 2,070,000. And it is stated that the customs duty is 10% on the dutiable value. So here, your customs duty should be 207,000, 10% of the 2,070,000. Okay? So di pa tamhuman na. Okay, atong i-compute customs duty man lang. Now let's proceed on the computation of the VAT on importation. So how much is your dutiable value? Is 2,070,000, right? You have your other official cost paid in the POC, which is 80,000. Ganong 80? Katong 5,000 nga paid sa fixer, di man to legal fees. Illegal man to. So i-deduct to nimo sa 85. So that is why 80 na lang ang other official cost or legal cost sa Bureau of Customs. your customs duty ngayon mong gibayaran, which is 207, di ba? Because again, the formula is customs duty, di ba, to get the landed cost. So customs duty plus other cost incurred, okay, and the value of your importation. So the total landed cost is now 2,357,000. That's your landed cost. Then you multiply that by 12%, which is the VAT rate. Your VAT on importation is 282,840. Okay? So, mao na siya ang sample sa ano yung pagkuha sa imong um, VAT on importation. So first, you need to identify the customs duty sa. Okay? And of course, you need to identify kung katong mga gipang import is VAT exempt ba to? VAT exempt to, wala na kay computation. Hindi na ka maghago-hago sa Excel. So first thing, how to attack the problem is check if those are exempted or subject to VAT. Okay? So again, the composition of your landed cost is dutable value or the value of your importation, the custom duties paid, excise taxes, if any, and other incidental costs, okay, or official costs paid to the Bureau of Customs before the the release of the export or the export goods, the import goods. Okay, so that's it. Thank you.